bubbling like a pot,
Getting hot.
gonna explode like a bomb in a toad.
You mark my words. If you decide to get into deaf poetry, you are going to fail and bomb and gag and fail and bomb. That's just, but I don't care, man. It's cool.
Hello! Today we're going to be breaking down poems from TV, movies, and YouTubers. So there's 4 shows we're going to be looking at today and about 6 poems. I want to talk about what the poem means, what it does on a technical level, what it shows us about the characters that are reciting the poems. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the genre of the poetry and a bunch of nerd shit. What are my credentials for making this type of video? I went to university and college for creative writing in English. I teach people how to write in workshops and online, and I'm a published poet myself. I am not an expert, I am just educated and obsessed. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought about the poems, if I missed anything, if there's other poems from games, books, TV, reality show, other YouTubers that you want me to look at. If you're a returning viewer, you may have noticed that I have a different background. I moved. It's kind of why this video is coming out late. You can't see it now, but there are boxes and boxes of crap all over the living room that I just kind of shoved to the side so I can make this video. All of my books aren't even up, for God's sake. I've never filmed in this house before, so I don't know how the lighting or the vent sounds are gonna work out, so bear with me if it's not great this time. All right, poetry time.
All right. Anyone brave enough to read theirs aloud?
I will.
The first one we're looking at today is from 10 Things I Hate About You. It is the first poem from movies or TV that comes to mind for me.
I hate the way you talk to me and the way you cut your hair. I hate the way you drive my car. I hate it when you stare. I hate your big dumb combat boots and the way you read my mind. I hate you so much it makes me sick. It even makes me rhyme. I hate it. I hate the way you're always right. I hate it when you lie. I hate it when you make me laugh. Even worse when you make me cry. I hate it when you're not around and the fact that you didn't call. But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all.
Alright, so in the movie, Kate is reading this about her feelings about Patrick. They're high school students, and in their English class, they were reading about sonnets and Shakespeare, and they were tasked with writing a poem that is inspired by the sonnet. No, her name's Kat. For Kat's sonnet-inspired poem, she writes a list about all the stuff she hates about Patrick, and it's so good. Did you cry? I cried. Poetry is a bitch. This is not a sonnet, and I want to say sorry to people who have watched all my videos because I keep repeating what a sonnet is and all the stuff about them, so skip ahead or have it drilled into your head one more time. Sonnets are 14 lines. They have 3 quatrains and a couplet. A quatrain is a stanza with 4 lines. Sonnets do not have line breaks though, so it looks like one kind of square. A couplet is a stanza with 2 lines, and that ending couplet rhymes in a Shakespearean or English sonnet. And each line of the sonnet is 10 syllables because it's written in iambic pentameter. The rhyme scheme goes back and forth. It's A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, all the way down to the couplet, which rhymes together as G, G. I kind of love that this isn't a sonnet, but sonnet inspired. It makes it more interesting to me because I know what a sonnet is, but seeing a poem that takes all of these influences, I really love seeing what it took and how it used it. Something I like that it didn't take from sonnets is the 10 syllables per line. I like how short some of these lines are. I feel like longer lines would have made this sound more like a mouthful or made it sound more like a story. I like that it's statements. This one is doing a list, which is also extremely common for sonnets. Sonnets are about unrequited love. Usually it's the speaker talking about their beloved. The beloved is the person that the poem is speaking to. If I wrote a love poem about Kadabraguy, he'd be the beloved, but he's not because he's kind of stinky. A list in a sonnet is called a blason. Probably pronouncing that wrong, it's French. Knowing a lot about poetry means you have to remember a lot of terms, and I don't want to know how many things I could have made room for in my head if I didn't know all these terms, but... So when the speaker is writing about the beloved, they list attributes or things they love about them. And in this poem, we have a subversion because she's listing everything she hates about him. Excellent. And it also goes with the title of the movie, 10 Things I Hate About You. I think this might be more than 10 things. We have a lot of anaphora. Anaphora is when you... I don't have enough room for that. Anaphora is when you repeat the same word or same few words at the beginning of a line. Very common to sonnets. We have that down here too. She also does a rhyme. That's kind of a half rhyme, lie, cry. This one, it's supposed to rhyme like that. It still works. When she reads it, there's a flow and you don't notice how far away this rhyme is. It still works. I'm not gonna knock on something if it works. I love that it's a sonnet about how much you hate these things about this person. Obviously, it's about how she doesn't actually hate him, but God, what a good use of a sonnet. The biggest thing you probably take away from this poem is that it starts with hate, ends with, I don't want to say love because she sounds brokenhearted. It ends in a different place. So a huge thing that sonnets do, one of the huge reasons why I love sonnets so much, and sorry for bringing it up in another video, repeat viewers. Do you guys remember the word? The volta. Yay! The volta is what gives this poem its emotional uppercut. Like, yes. Sonnets talk about one thing, one metaphor. It explores it a lot throughout the entire 3 quatrains of the sonnet. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? And then it talks about a summer's day for 3 quatrains. And then near the end of the poem, it'll have a tonal shift where you're like, oh, something's happening. And then that last little bit of the poem, it's usually within the last 4 lines, it changes how it talks about the subject. It takes that thing it was just talking about and showing it in a new perspective right at the end. So actually, I shouldn't compare you to a summer's day because summer's days end and you're hotter, baby. If you watch my viewers poetry part 1 video, I talk a lot about subject A to subject B, which is the same thing. It's basically whenever you see a poem talking about one thing and then it talks about it differently at the end, that is subject A, subject B. It's called a volta in a sonnet. It's hard to pin down exactly where a volta is because when you study sonnets, you have to be very exact where it is. It could be 2 words in a poem. It could be half a line. It could be a full line. It's very hard to pin it down here because, like here, this is more of a liking feeling. Hate it when you lie. Hate it when you, yeah, same with here. Fond of him. I might put the volta here because I feel like this is when the tone shifts and doesn't shift back. Either way, with or without a firm volta in this poem, it still has the same punch. These ending 3 lines, oh my God. Genius. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all. That anaphora. This is giving like Natsuki, right? So why have this poem in the movie? What is this even doing here? If you don't know, 10 Things I Hate About You is a modern adaptation of Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. Shakespeare also wrote a crap ton of sonnets, and the English sonnet is even called the Shakespearean sonnet. This is a great way to have an allusion to the source material while still making it modern. She didn't use, I don't know how to count meter, I'm very bad at hearing meter. She didn't use iambic pentameter, probably. She didn't stick to a strict form. This is a great version of sonnet-inspired poem. There are a lot of modern sonnets that don't stick strictly to the form, but they're still sonnets, especially in the fact that they're 14 lines. It's kind of a big deal. I love that this poem is used when Kat's walls are coming down. Taming of the Shrew is about Kate, who is a difficult woman who refuses to get married. She terrorizes all the men who try to court her. She yells at her dad. She makes fun of her sister. She is like being left alone with a Wolverine in a broom closet. You meet her while she's screaming. Petruchio is tasked with marrying her, and he takes it one step further and says, I'm not going to just marry her, I'm also going to make her the perfect wife, because actually, I like her. I can see something in her, let's do this thing. And he kind of does. When you watch the original, the sexual tension for like a Shakespeare play, crazy. For like anything, it's crazy. And you feel like you shouldn't like, but you can't look away, and you kind of really like them. You kind of want to ship them problematically, but also you do it anyways.
There's my Kate!
It's kind of like an enemies to lovers, but it's not really necessarily, because Petruchio kind of sees something in Kate. He's being very serious when he says that, and he does, and that's why he's able to tame her.
Belike you mean to make a puppet of me.
Why, true, he means to make a puppet of thee.
Kate doesn't want to get married because she doesn't think that anyone understands her. No one tries to understand her. They tell her, Kate, you have to be this way, and she doesn't want to be that way, and no one gives a shit about her. So instead of just conforming, she yells at everyone. I'm not doing the play justice right now. It would take a whole other video. But basically, Petruchio understands that she antagonizes everyone because she's lonely. He understands that he has to meet her where she is. What I love about 10 Things I Hate About You is that they take that part of the play and gets rid of all the problematic shit, like locking her away in a room and starving her and humiliating her on their wedding day.
You're not as mean as you think you are, you know that?
And you're not as badass as you think you are.
Watch the original. It's a lot. It takes a lot for Kat or Kate to admit that she likes Petruchio. And it wasn't love that she was against, it was how people treated her. And I just think that this poem really goes with that, because we have lines here like, the way you read my mind, the way you make me laugh. Or when you make me laugh. The way you're always right. It's kind of pointing to Kate feeling like he understands her. I really love this movie for really, really understanding the source material. It's a great adaptation. It's just, oh, it's so good. Oh my God, my other favorite one is She's the Man, 12th Night adaptation. Yes, Amanda Bynes. Oh, good. Is there a poem in that one? Okay, whatever. Next poem.
Now tonight you drop your G string. Let me see that crack, girl. I bet it's not whack, girl. Amir, so sweet.
All right, the next thing we're doing is from Jake and Amir, their Valentine's Day episode. These guys aren't poets, but they really tried to write good poetry for this episode. And for this one, I'm not necessarily just gonna tell you what's up, what they're doing. I'm also gonna give some feedback. I tend to like to do that. You know, they're trying their best in a new medium. I respect it.
How many words would it take by Amir Valerie Blumenfeld?
You know you can change your middle name, right?
How many words would it take to accurately express what you mean to me? How can you scientifically quantify how much lighter I become when you enter my day, or how heavy I feel when you leave? How can I describe how my smile just appears magnetically when I see your face? How can I possibly count my thoughts of you when I think of you so constantly? As thoughts within thoughts within thoughts within thoughts make it impossible to remember where one began and the other ended. Time folds into itself as I am already nostalgic for our future and look forward to our past. For the rest of my life, I love you.
Are you guys ready for Jake's?
You are blazing to me. You are so blazing. No, you're better than blazing. You're blazing. No G, just an apostrophe. You don't need a G, cause I'm your G. So we dropped the G. And tonight, you're gonna drop your G. String, let me see that crack, girl. I bet it ain't whack, girl. Love, your not so secret admirer, Jaywitz.
Both so creative in their own ways. I don't know if this is shocking to anyone, but I think that Jake's is more interesting on a technical level. I'm not saying that to say that I don't like Amir's. I love both of these. but looking at the poetic devices used, Jake's is more interesting. The fact that I like Jake's better reminds me of when I go to poetry readings that are scored. Sometimes people in the audience are given scoreboards, and when you read, they will hold up the scores and then it gets marked, and then there's a first, second, or third place and prize money and stuff like that. If you go to scored poetry readings, please leave in my comments if you agree with me with something I've noticed. But there's always like a hierarchy of what beats out what. There's like 3 main types of poems that I usually see when I go. For reference, I'm in Southern Ontario. I always see, first off, the one about the individual confessional poetry about someone's own mental health, about something they're going through, personal experiences, and whether or not it has a lot of poetic technique. It usually does pretty well. It's hard for those ones to do too well because that's what the majority of poems at readings usually are. And I'm not trying to say any of what I'm about to say as a critique or a negative. I'm just trying to state facts. I don't think any of these poems are bad or whatever. You get what I mean. Those ones will always be beat out by ones about social justice or societal oppression or about politics. And I'm not saying that the ones about politics don't deserve to win. Obviously, those are important poems. They're the reason for the genre. Again, I'm just stating what I've noticed. They will always beat out the mental health ones, and they will beat out the other political ones if the poet yells. The ones that will, no matter what, beat out both of those, no matter what, are the funny poems. I went to a scored poetry reading with Kadabraguy. It was Halloween, so I wrote about a spooky narrative poem about transformation and like kind of like a haunting. I got second place. Kadabraguy got first place. It sounds like someone's upset with their partner because they're really bad at sleeping with them and getting them in the mood. And it's about like, I'm not even hot yet and you're already trying. It turns out it was about someone putting in pizza pockets before the oven was preheated. He won because it made them laugh. It makes sense. Poetry that makes you laugh, that's an emotional response. Poetry is for emotional responses. It doesn't matter how ridiculous the funny poem is. Starting with Amir's. I like that he uses questions as like a focus of the poetry. I like the questions he asks. It gives it a nice focus. And I gotta say, certified banger line. If someone gave this to me, I'd cry. Are you kidding me? The thing that irks me about it, the only thing that I feel kind of falls flat is that the beginning half and the second half feel disconnected because he sets up, you know, how do I scientifically, and then uses magnetically. He sets that up right at the beginning and doesn't continue anything down. Past this, no more science. Science and poetry go very well together. There's some amazing eco-poets and poets that talk about biology. It's amazing. This is just a suggestion, but it would have been really cool to see him try to use science on his feelings. Like he could have taken a biopsy of his heart, put it under a microscope. That's not a creative idea, sorry. Or he could have gotten rid of those words and just used, instead of scientifically quantify, if he just used the word measure, it wouldn't have had that setup, wouldn't have had that expectation. It would have flowed much nicer into the rest of the poem. When you write a poem, you set up expectations, and you have to be aware of that, and you have to know, did I follow through? Did I subvert? Did I disappoint on purpose? Or did I just disappoint by accident and now I have to edit it? Poetry is hard. Something cool that I thought about, and he doesn't have to do, it's just my first thought. When one begins and the other ends. That made me think of daisy chaining. That's when you start a new rhyme before another rhyme ends. That would have been a cool way to have the form match up with the words. I don't want to be too harsh on him about the cliches. This feels very honest and he's new at this. If he continued poetry, I would say watch out for that stop it. But overall, I would just want to encourage him to write more poetry. All right, let's talk about Jake. I love that this rhymes G, because I'm your G. A lot of the rhymes are just the same. That you drop your G straight, and then crack and whack. Right here, when he takes the G from blazing and turns it into I'm your G, that's called redefinition. And then when we add that to G string, that's called reconstruction. Because reconstruction is when you take a part from one sentence, move it into a new one, and change it into a new thought. Redefinition is when you say, hey, this word means this, but now it means this, and you spell it out a little bit more. My favorite part is, I bet it ain't whack girl, because this just sounds so silly. It sounds just so obviously ridiculous. The rest of it's ridiculous, but I feel like that pushes it a little bit further. And I always say that to people I talk about poetry with. Get as weird as possible. Lean into the strangeness. Expand the metaphor as far as you can go. Push it as far as you can go. One person gave me their poems, and it was about like they were so sedentary that their bones kind of fused together, and in order to move it hurt because they had to crack their bones. But they kept using words like, it was like my bones broke. I said, have your bones break. Take the like out. Why is it a metaphor? Why? Go further with it. Poetry, you can do anything you want. You can be as strange as you want, as long as the pieces fit together. Do it. Another thing I love about poetry, this is a poem about you're so blazing, I'm your G, let's drop your G string. It ain't whack. You can have a poem like that and still have it well written. That is the diversity and the range of poetry.
Mac and Dennis aren't here. They're not going to ridicule us. We get to just pick whatever we want to do.
Well, you know I like making music.
Yeah, and I like listening to it, but it hasn't really ever gotten us anywhere in the past. So, well, what about poetry?
I like poetry, but only if it's deaf.
Deaf poetry?
Yeah, like deaf poetry slams.
Those are awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. What happened to that?
I don't know. Did people just stop thinking they were cool?
That's crazy. Black people don't do stuff that's not cool.
We have the characters Charlie and Dee improvising spoken word poetry as you would expect them to. There's a couple of names for what they're doing here. One is bad spoken word. There's also different types of spoken word poetry, like dub. They're calling this deaf poetry because there used to be a show called Deaf Poetry Jam, and it was hosted by a guy named Mos Def. A lot of people also call this slam poetry. To my understanding, slam poetry is when it's a competition. Spoken word is not necessarily a competition. It is more generalized dramatic poetry. It kind of just uses the emphasis, the rhyme, the flow, rhythm. But a big hallmark of any spoken word poetry is usually talking about mental health or social justice. This type of poetry gets made fun of a lot.
Cynthia, Jesus died for our Cynthias.
I don't really care if it gets made fun of. I think poetry should be able to laugh at itself. I do think it's unfortunate, though, that people outside of the spoken word poetry community don't really understand what makes it so good. That being said, let's look at some of what's going on here. In case you don't know, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is about the worst people having the worst friendships, just the worst, and they're dumb people, written dumb on purpose. They suck, and they're using the form of social justice. Actually, in terms of ranking how horrible those characters are, I would probably say Dennis, Frank, and Dee second. I don't know, they're both, I can't pick a second. And then probably Charlie, and then Mac. Mac's not a good person. Whatever.
Arrogance, vanity, all over. He's underwater like a Range Rover.
Makeup, smearing, no power steering. He be talking, but we don't be hearing.
Speaks like Zeus.
Smells like poops.
Rage all over from his head down to his shoes.
This one has a lot more going on than the other one, where they're actually trying to be good. Because they accurately talk about Dennis He calls himself this is the episode where he yells that he's the golden god. They're trying to use what just happened as a metaphor. Dennis points out very well that Zeus poops in shoes do not rhyme.
Zeus poops and shoes? Guys, you suck at deaf poetry.
They do have assonance. Assonance. That can't be how you spell that. What? Oh, I miss so many letters. Can't spell. We know this about me, and we're gonna just accept me for who I am. Assonance is when the vowels go together. Not rhyming, but the same kind of word sound. They do actually rhyme in other parts of this poem, like over, rover, smearing, steering, hearing. This one's out of place. Is she trying to do water with rover? That doesn't work. If we look at the second poem, it is cringe, it's empty, it is what what people think spoken word poetry is.
Our thinking, clear, our rhymes, no fear.
Our words, our passion that flows like beer.
Misery,
Chains,
thunder,
rain.
we're chasing the dragon.
We're chasing our pain.
Now stop, breathe.
Unbroken.
You're free.
I'm gonna go through a bunch of technical words for what they do. Get ready for a bunch of basic ones. I can't use any of the cool ones because they don't use any of the cool terms. So the first one we have is tone. Tone is defined by the poet's attitude towards the subject conveyed through how they speak. We know what tone is. They're putting on fake sincerity in order to sound like the tone that a lot of spoken word poets use. Another one they use is gesturing. We see Charlie and Dennis do this with like reins, and they move their hands a lot, like, oh, I'm so freaking deep right now. Again, it's the same as the tone, performing this deepness. Pausing. Pausing is used for drama or punchlines. They have a lot of pausing. They're not saying anything dramatic. They're not able to have drama through any other technique or through the weight of their words by saying something unique and poetic, so they depend on pausing. They're using pausing in a very Yuri way. I should stop referencing those videos in all my other videos. I just hate Yuri so much. Volume and dynamics.
That flows like beer.
Misery.
Volume is how loud you speak. Dynamics is how you change the volume as you perform. They do this because the same reason why Jonah Hill does it. Emphasis. Yep, that's where the joke comes from. Multivocal. This is when a performance has two or more voices. Can be like a choir thing or two performers. Anaphora. We already talked about that. Doggerel means a line that's written bad on purpose for comedic effect. These characters didn't do it. The writers of the show did it. Flows like beer. That's stupid. And obviously, this one is probably the most obvious. And then we have Dee stretching how she says shoes.
Rage all over from his head down to his shoes.
Direct address. You're free. Direct address is when you talk to someone specifically. They're addressing the audience here. Last one. Paralinguistic vocalization. Paralinguistic vocalization is when a noise comes out of your mouth that is not words. Can be crying, laughter, groaning, or the big deep breath that they take at the end.
Now stop, breathe.
Unbroken.
You're free.
What does this tell us about the characters? Obviously, I already talked about how they're the worst, but the whole show is a running gag about how they're the worst people. That's not very interesting in this poem. I think the most interesting thing is that it exists, that these two characters were able to improvise together. If you watch the show, A lot of times when the characters are doing anything together, they will micromanage each other, tell each other they're stupid. But Dee and Charlie are able to sincerely improvise deaf poetry together. Like, this is a great episode for showing what Charlie and Dee are like when they're outside of the gang. They're often made the butt of the joke more than the other characters are, especially Dee, but when Dee's gone, Charlie is more often the butt of the joke. When these two are alone, they usually agree with each other a lot, and they sound like they're just bouncing ideas off of each other. They encourage each other a lot. They have a very different dynamic outside of the gang. And when you see other characters go outside of the gang, for example, Dennis and Mac, they don't do what Dee and Charlie are able to do. And it shows what happens when they can just not be around so much criticism. I think it's really cool that we got to see them improvise poetry together and not just start arguing in creative differences. This is something that could only exist with these two in this situation. You guys ready for the last one?
I promise you, every single person in that room would go back if we could. Peace? That's someone trying to convince himself of something. Of what? That life has meaning or purpose. That if you check the right boxes and do the dance, then you get a little parting gift at the end. A framed certificate that says, "Congratulations, you've got peace." I wouldn't mind that.
The next one we have was the most requested poem I've had for movies or TV. This one's called The View from Halfway Down by Alison Taffel. Before we talk about this poem, trigger warning for SH, for doing harm to oneself. I can't say a lot of words on here. The weak breeze whispers nothing. The water screams sublime. His feet shift, teeter-totter. Deep breath, stand back. It's time. Toes untouch the overpass. Soon he's water-bound. Eyes locked shut, but peek to see the view from halfway down. A little wind, a summer sun, a river rich and regal, a flood of fond endorphins, brings a calm that knows no equal. You're flying now. You see things much more clear than from the ground. It's all okay. It would be, were you not now halfway down. Thrashed to break from gravity. What now could slow the drop? All I'd give for toes to touch the safety back at top. But this is it. The deed is done. Silence drowns the sound. Before I leaped, I should have seen the view from halfway down. I really should have thought about the view from halfway down. I wish I could have known about the view from halfway down. Yeah, you need a minute with that one after. Allison. Oh my God. Punch me in the gut. Just, all right. So very obviously this is a poem about regret, realizing when it's too late, and begging the reader to not make the same mistake. When I first read this poem, I thought about this one time I was in class, and I forget who said the quote. My professor said that someone said, the purpose of all poems, what all poems are about, is a reminder to live. If they're sad, they remind you of what's good. If they're good, then they're also reminding you of what's good. If it's a poem about regret, it's telling you to do better and to live better. All poems are about living life. This one is very on the nose about that. This is the sentiment I feel from all poetry. Drop that G string, the Jake poem. Don't you? That one felt like a reminder to have some fun, right? All poems want you to live your life. So we have a rhyme scheme, and that goes for all of them. I love this part. You're flying now. It's all okay. You're flying now. That sounds like it should be encouraging and sound nice, but it creates like this stabbing pain in the reader because they're not flying. Oh, saying something good to create the opposite effect. Excellent. I love that. And this is so sad because there's obviously so much life left in the speaker. And thinking of how things could have been different If they had seen the view from halfway down before this part too, going with that, the regret. Speaker is hesitating. Almost doesn't do it. Just stay there. Just stay there. Don't, you just want to stay there. It could have been so different. I like what the speaker's doing here. With a weak breeze whispers nothing. So not seeing a sign to stay on the overpass. The water below screams sublime. So thinking that they're seeing a sign from below. And then we see a different perspective. Now we see a sign to stay where they were, where they used to be on the overpass. Something now, the summer sun is nice. It's a difference in perspective. There's never a sign saying that there was nothing to stay on the overpass for. There wasn't a sign saying that you had to go into the water. It was a matter of perspective. That those signs are gone once they're halfway down. If you had just seen it before, if you just realized before, if you just, someone could have told you how beautiful things were before, it could have been different. This is a matter of perspective, not a sign from the universe. And your perspectives change. Your perspective changes. It's not concrete. This wasn't the answer, even though at the moment for them, it did feel like the answer. Obviously, we got to point out the changing in pronouns, the changing in points of view. We start with his feet. Third person, second person, you. And then finally, we have first person. This is very clever. So it shows us the speaker trying to cope with their decision. His feet, his, third person. That is the furthest away that you can be from the speaker. And then it's you, and then it's I. The slowly realization that it is me doing this. I can't ignore what just happened. I can't actually dissociate and decide that it didn't happen to me. There's no more coping anymore. This is it. It's about a realization. And this is the form meeting the idea. It also kind of feels like they're grasping at straws. You see the word thrash, to break from gravity. That's what the pronouns also feel like they're doing. They're grasping at not me, not me, not me. And then finally we have the I, front and center, starting the last stanza. This was me. Brings the reader in closer as well, because he makes it sound like, a narrative, a character, just something you're hearing about someone else. He means not you. Distance from both you and the speaker. Then you have it being you. And I don't even feel like this is as close as it can get, because if someone's saying you're falling, you're doing this. Well, no, I'm not. Maybe it does resonate with some people more. This is just what I've noticed. This is just my thought. You doesn't even feel like as close as you can get, because it's a hypothetical both. Did I get that right? Did I spell that right? Use a hypothetical. I'm not in the air. I'm not flying. I'm not falling. This is someone saying, well, what if you were? That might not set me so much in this situation and really pull at me. But now we have I, firsthand experience. If someone said, he kicked the wasp's nest and the bee stung him. Cool. You kicked the wasp's nest and the bee stung you. Well, I didn't. I don't have a sting. Okay. I kicked the wasp's nest. The bee stung me. This actually happened. I did this, and I'm telling you, it's not a hypothetical anymore. That might create a bigger impact on someone than the hypothetical you. Poem is saying, I didn't learn this lesson. I couldn't learn this lesson. Please learn my lesson. Unfortunately, humans don't work that way. When someone says, don't touch the stove, it's hot, you touch the stove. That is a flaw in our brains as humans. And we see this in the show. First, we see Secretariat, Bojack's hero, on the bridge, and he does what he does on the bridge. Bojack is supposed to kind of learn that lesson, not to go down that path. But Bojack, we know, is a self-destructive character. He has a lot of realizations through the show and then continues down the wrong path because he keeps changing the wrong way. And he can't ever learn his lesson, and it becomes very frustrating, but also very relatable, because sometimes we do that. We become very self-destructive over and over and over again when we know we need to stop, when we know we need to learn, when we know what the problem is. It should never end this way. It should never be a permanent outcome of SH. I'm not saying, oh, humans don't learn their lesson, so of course this happens. I'm talking about the show and the fact that Bojack doesn't learn from Secretariat. Bojack, he gets intoxicated, he falls into his pool, and then in limbo, kind of, or in his head, he sees himself. He sees the view from halfway down. He sees his body in the pool, and he starts fighting for life. He's in denial. He doesn't want that to be the outcome. He could have changed it before that. He wants to go back and change that. We know that he doesn't stay in the pool. Obviously, there's another episode. But it's now him fighting for life after it's too late, not before. And he could have fought before. We all kind of feel like the speaker when we watch Bojack Horseman. We all feel like, God damn it, why couldn't he have just been different? Why couldn't he have just made, like, he was on the right path for a while, why couldn't he have just made a right choice? Why did he swerve so hard again? The process of understanding ourselves is so difficult and grueling, and art is probably the most beautiful way humans have created to do that. I watched a TikTok a while ago where apparently people who untouched their toes from bridges and lived were interviewed, and every single one of them said immediately when they left the bridge before the water, the second that they were not on anything anymore, they regretted it. They said immediately all of their problems seemed so small and so fixable, and they hated what they just did. I'm not sure what to say here. I understand having thoughts. I understand how horrible the world is and how horrible our brains can be to us. I never, ever, ever, ever think that should be the solution, because the world is better when people don't untouch their toes from the overpass. The world is better when you're here with the rest of us. Yeah, it's a matter of how you're seeing the world, and that view can change. But this kind of decision is permanent. I don't know what to say about that other than that. Bojack Horseman is a great show. This is a great poem. Allison, 10 out of 10. 100 out of 100. And the flow of it, you guys heard it when I was reading it. It feels, I can't do Scantra. We've talked about that. It sounds like there's a meter going on. Oh, it's so good. The rhyme perfect. Everything's perfect. Devastating poem. Absolutely devastating. But encouraging. Power of poetry, guys. Here we go again. All right. The Project Hail Mary video is kind of scripted. It's half scripted. I'm still finding quotes. It's taking a lot longer than I thought it would, so I put out this video. I'm reading contest pieces. I just ran a contest. You guys knocked it out of the freaking park. Those contest pieces are amazing. I am so in love with all of them. Picking a winner is going to ruin me. I'm gonna keep you guys updated. Again, leave in the comments other things you would like me to look at. I would love to see some poems from books. Some ones original to books. I haven't seen any. You guys recommend a lot of poems from games. That's also a series I'm gonna eventually do. Now I have to go unpack some of these boxes. Hopefully this will look better next time. I have all my pretentious old classic literature on the shelf, which shouldn't be the shelf I sit in front of if I don't want to sound snobby. I have all my Percy Jacksons and Series of Unfortunate Events down there, but it is what it is.